Story 1: The Wrong Passenger by Marcus Webb. Have you ever picked up a hitchhiker and instantly regret it? This is one of those stories. It was around 11 p.m. on a Friday night, and Marcus was driving home after working a double shift at the warehouse. The highway was practically empty, just him, his old Chevy, and the sound of the windshield wipers cutting through the rain. He was tired, honestly exhausted, but only about 30 minutes from home. That's when he saw her. A woman stood alone on the shoulder of the road, soaking wet. No jacket, just a thin dress clinging to her body. Her posture was slumped, shoulders hunched. Marcus knew he shouldn't stop. His mom always told him never to pick up strangers at night. But something about her looked wrong. Desperate, like she was in real danger. He pulled over. She approached, slowly, almost mechanically. When she opened the door, a blast of cold air hit him, and he noticed her skin was ice cold. Literally ice cold. Her eyes were hollow, not making direct contact, staring at something just past his face. She didn't say thank you. She didn't say anything. She just sat down, wet hair dripping onto his upholstery. "Where are you headed?" Marcus asked, trying to sound friendly, despite the creeping dread crawling up his spine. She didn't respond, just stared forward. He drove. Minutes passed in absolute silence. The rain kept coming. Marcus kept glancing at her, trying to figure out if she was okay, if she needed help. But every time he looked, she was in the exact same position, staring straight ahead without blinking. Her clothes were still soaking wet, but she showed no sign, still nothing. But then slowly, her head turned toward him. Her neck moved in this jerky, unnatural way, like it was moving in increments instead of smoothly. When her eyes finally locked onto his, Marcus's breath caught. Her pupils were completely black, not just dilated, but solid black, like there was nothing behind them. "Why did you stop?" she whispered. Her voice was wrong. It was layered, like multiple voices speaking at the same time. Overlapping, Marcus's hands gripped the steering wheel. I thought you needed help." "No one needs help," she said. "Everyone just wants to feel good. Everyone just wants to not be alone." Marcus didn't know what to say. He kept driving, hands trembling slightly. The highway seemed to stretch longer than it should, mile after mile of identical darkness. He checked the time on his dashboard. It said 11:13 p.m., but he'd been driving for what felt like 20 minutes already. He glanced at the odometer. It hadn't moved, still showing the same mileage from when he picked her up. "You're confused," the woman said. It wasn't a question. "You're wondering why the road hasn't changed, why time is acting strange. It's because this road stopped existing for you the moment you stopped for me." Marcus slammed on the brakes. The car skidded on the wet road, but didn't slow down. It was like the brakes weren't working. He pumped them again and again, but the car kept moving forward at the same speed, cutting through the endless rain. "You can't leave," she whispered. "No one leaves. They all think they're going somewhere, but they just drive and drive and drive." Marcus reached for the door handle to jump out, But when he looked down at his hands on the steering wheel, he realized they weren't moving. He was still driving, still controlling the car, but he couldn't feel his hands. He looked at her again, and in that moment, he saw something that made his blood freeze. She was flickering. Like a glitching image, her form would disappear and reappear slightly to the left, then back to center. Each time she reappeared, she was smiling. A smile that stretched too wide. The clock on his dashboard changed. It now reads 11:13 p.m. again. He's never been found. His car was discovered 3 days later, parked on that same stretch of highway. The engine was still running. The windshield wipers were still moving back and forth. But Marcus was gone. Police found wet footprints leading from the driver's seat out into the forest. But they just stopped, like someone had simply vanished mid-step. To this day, drivers on that highway report seeing a wet figure standing on the shoulder at night. And if they stop to help, their passengers report losing time, clocks that don't move, and voices that aren't quite human. Story 2: The Neighbor Who Knocks by David Carrio. Some people say you can feel when something's wrong, when there's a presence in your home that doesn't belong. This story is about a woman named Sarah who felt that presence every single night for 2 weeks. Sarah had just moved into her new apartment, a quiet place on the outskirts of the city. It was affordable, had good natural light, and the building wasn't too new, but wasn't ancient either. Perfect starter place. She'd been living there for about 3 months with no issues. But then, on a random Tuesday night, something changed. She was in bed, reading on her phone, when she heard it. A knock. Soft, almost polite. Knock, knock, knock. She checked her phone. 2:47 a.m. Sarah waited, listening. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe a tree branch hitting her window. But no, it came again. Knock, knock. Definitely intentional. Definitely a person. She got out of bed and looked through the peephole in her front door. The hallway was empty. No one there. She waited a few minutes, but the knocking didn't resume. She went back to bed, telling herself it was probably just a neighbor, or maybe she'd imagined it. The next night, it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. Same time, 2:47 a.m. This time she looked through the peephole immediately, but again, nothing. The hallway was completely empty. She opened the door and stuck her head out, looking both directions. No one. Nothing. She called the landlord the next morning and asked if anyone had been checking on the apartments. He said no. Maintenance wasn't due until the following month. Sarah felt a strange chill, but decided not to worry about it too much. Night 3. Knock, knock, knock. 2:47 a.m. like clockwork. Sarah decided to confront whoever it was. She yanked open the door, fully prepared to give someone a piece of her mind. But there was nothing there. Not even a whisper of movement. The hallway stretched out in both directions, completely silent, completely still. What unsettled her most was that when she turned to go back inside, she noticed something. The door, directly across from hers, apartment 4B, was slightly open. It had been closed yesterday. She was sure of it. She had never seen anyone go in or out of that apartment since she moved in. She'd asked the landlord about it once, and he said it had been vacant for over a year. No one lived there. Over the next week, the knocking continued, every night at exactly 2:47 a.m. And every night, the door to 4B would be slightly more open than the night before. By the fourth night, it was open about 6 inches. By the seventh night, it was wide open, and Sarah could see a thin beam of light coming from inside, like a single lamp or candle was lit in the darkness of that apartment. Sarah started leaving her lights on all night. She slept with earbuds in, listening to loud music to drown out the knocking. But she could still hear it underneath the music. Knock, knock, knock. Soft, persistent, patient. On the 10th night, something different happened. The knocking came as usual at 2:47 a.m. But this time, after the third knock, she heard something else. A voice, muffled like it was coming through water or through a thick wall, but she could make out words. "Let me in." Just those 2 words repeated over and over. "Let me in. Let me in. Let me in." Sarah called the police. An officer came by the next morning and checked the apartment across the hall. When the landlord opened it up, it was completely empty. Dust everywhere. No furniture, no lamp, no sign that anyone had been inside in years. The officer checked for signs of forced entry or anyone hiding in the closet. Nothing. But that night, at 2:47 a.m., the knocking came again. Sarah packed a bag and went to stay with a friend. She told herself she'd figure out what to do after she got some sleep in a place where nothing was wrong. But that night, at her friend's house, at exactly 2:47 a.m., she heard it knock, knock, knock from outside the window. She never went back to her apartment. The landlord eventually cleared it out and put it up for rent again. But every new tenant reports the same thing. At 2:47 a.m., like a countdown to something, the knocking begins. And if they're brave enough to look, they find the door to apartment 4B standing open, a light shining from inside, and the voice whispering in that horrible, waterlogged tone, "Let me in, let me in, let me in." No one knows who or what is in that apartment, and no one has been brave enough to find out. Which story scared you the most? The endless highway or the persistent knocking? Comment below and let me know. And if you enjoyed these stories, please subscribe for more terrifying tales that will keep you up at night. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Sweet dreams.